Hi, my name is Natalie Barrera, and I'll be doing my final project on the amazing Amy Winehouse. Amy was born September 14, 1983, in London, England. Winehouse came from a family with a musical background, so essentially it wasn't new to her. Before her fame, her mother, Janice Winehouse, was a pharmacist, and her father, Mitchell Winehouse, was a taxi driver. In Amy's early years, she was absorbed in music. Many of her family members on her mother's side were professional jazz musicians. Amy's father also sang as a child with his family. Therefore, music was in her blood, so her musical talent came naturally. She grew up listening to a diverse range of music, from James Taylor to Sarah Vaughan. Amy Winehouse was also inspired by hip-hop and jazz music. As a teenager, she became drawn to the rebellious spirit of TLC, Salt-N-Pepa, and the R&B and hip-hop groups. When Amy was 14, she bought her own guitar and started writing music a year later. At 16, one of her close friends, Taylor James, passed on a demo which led to her signing with 19 Management, the management company signed by Simon Fuller, which is the man behind American Idol. Eventually, she signed with a record label called Island Universal, then received a publishing deal with EMI. Amy Winehouse's debut album, Frank, was released on October 20th, 2003. Amazingly, Amy co-wrote every song on her album. Her album received many positive reviews and entered upper level of the UK albums charts. After viewing some interviews, Amy Winehouse described her album to be versatile, and she explains that she pushed herself with every aspect of it. Amy Winehouse wrote her music from her soul and knowledge. She was described to be highly intelligent when it came to every last detail in her songs. In other words, a perfectionist. In 2003, Amy met Blake Fielder Civil, a music video production assistant of a local bar. The two began on a rocky situation, but Amy was in love and got his name tattooed over her heart. Throughout her music, Amy only wrote about things that was personal to her, or events/situations that she was dealing with, and tries to be different with her music. Amy Winehouse's next album, Back to Black, was released on October 30th, 2006. Her album went straight to number 1 in the UK charts, and in the US it was at number 7 in the Billboard charts. Back to Black was her best-selling album in the UK in 2007, selling 1.85 million copies. As her fame increased, so did her lifestyle in the public eye. Her significant other of the time, Blake, was the main source of her destructive behavior. Unfortunately, she became an addict with drugs and alcohol, which affected her appearance, voice, and music. Amy often showed up to several club and television performances too intoxicated to perform. Amy Winehouse's management team suggested she go to rehab, but instead of taking their advice, she dumped the management company and turned that experience into the catchiest song of her career. Amy Winehouse and Blake's relationship was complicated. They were often on and off due to having other partners. But in May of 2007, the intricate couple married in Miami, Florida. Amy discussed in an interview with Rolling Stone that she knew she was talented, but she was not put here to sing. She feels that she was meant to be a wife and a mom and to look after her family. In June of 2007, Amy was diagnosed with depression and was found to be self-harming herself. Amy thought that Blake was the only one who understands what she is going through, and thought that he could rescue her when in reality he was doing more damage than she could realize. Just 2 months later, Amy Winehouse was rushed into the hospital in London for exhaustion. She later admitted it was for a drug overdose. A few days later, the couple checked into a rehab facility to check out a couple days later. They then went on holiday to St. Lucia. Early 2008, Winehouse was nominated for 5 Grammy Awards, but visa complications prevented her from attending the ceremony in person. She ended up accepting her rewards and performed a few of her hit songs through a live link. Throughout the year, her marriage with Blake began to deteriorate, to the point where he asked for a divorce. He claimed that he wanted to save her life. Unfortunately, the couple divorced in August of 2009. After the divorce, her family and friends were hoping she would improve on herself to leave the drugs behind, but sadly that wasn't the case. For the next couple of years, Amy Winehouse was on a balance with her performances. Some days she completed her whole set, then other days she forgot some words or was booed off of the stage. Her fans thought that her divorce would help improve her music, since she wasn't around the main source of damage, but it only made her worse. The last performance Amy Winehouse ever did in her short career, she was intoxicated and forgot the lyrics to her songs. It was terrifying and sad to watch because she shouldn't have been up on the stage. Amy was humiliated just after winning 5 Grammys. Unfortunately, Amy Winehouse passed away July 23, 2011. 2 ambulances were called to her home in Camden, London. She was pronounced dead at the scene. A report released 3 days later explained that her blood alcohol content at the time of her death was more than 5 times the legal drink and drive limit. The source explains that her death was a tragedy because she was able to perform here and there and write songs. She wanted to become better. Sometimes she looked okay, so there was that hope that her family, friends, and fans grasped to, as long as Amy allowed them to. Amy Winehouse's last recording was a duet with American singer Tony Bennett, a single that was featured in her last album Body and Soul, which was released on September 14, 2011, to commemorate what would have been her 28th birthday. Shortly after her death, her father, Mitchell Winehouse, launched the Amy Winehouse Foundation with the goal of raising awareness and support that helped young adults with addiction similar to his daughter. In an interview with Gene Simmons, he explains that Amy Winehouse was not surrounded by people that truly loved her, because they let her suffer for so long. He explains further by saying they should have put her into jail to get her away from her toxic environment. There weren't people around her that loved her enough to force her not to kill herself. There was media from all over the world next to her house for 36 hours after her death. Fans also gathered around her home, bringing her flowers and other items of remembrance, such as cigarettes, bottles of liquor, and photos of her. In honor of Amy Winehouse, a statue was built in her hometown of Camden, London, on September 14, 2014, which would have been her 31st birthday. Some fun facts about Amy. Her Back to Black album ended up being the second highest selling album in the world in 2008. In 2009, she was in the Guinness Book of World Records for most Grammy Awards won by a British female act. When she was young, Amy won a scholarship to the Sylvia Young Theatre School, but never finished. She was expelled for not putting effort and having a nose piercing. One of her hit songs, Rehab, is about her not wanting to go to rehab for abusing drugs and alcohol. She says that she sang the hook walking down the street in Soho. She sang it as a joke. She was a big fan of Frank Sinatra. Amy even named her debut album after him. The last time she performed live was in Serbia on June 18, 2011. Amy Winehouse was an iconic singer/songwriter that had such a unique voice to her. She was one of those singers that don't come around too often. Her voice brought many people to love her and to see the type of person she really was. She sang from her soul. She meant every word that is in her music, and it shows. Despite her behavior and her unfortunate death, people will always remember her for her voice and uniqueness. She created music people can relate to. She had her own style and was amazing at what she did. I still listen to her music and always will. This concludes my project, so thank you.